Meanwhile, President Trump has signed a sweeping executive order attempting to change rules for mail-in voting. The order requires the Department of Homeland Security to create a database of U.S. citizens who are eligible to vote, which the U.S. Postal Service would then use to send out absentee ballots. The order is already facing immediate legal challenges from multiple states, which argue it violates the Constitution's assignment of election authority to states and Congress and not the president. Joining us now, Secretary of State for the state of Colorado, Jena Griswold. Madam Secretary, thank you for joining us this morning. It is right there, it would seem to me, right there in the Constitution that elections are administered by the states, not the federal government. Mail-in voting would be part of that. So give us what legal challenges you and your colleagues in the Secretary of State's offices across the country could bring to this.
Well, thank you for having me on. Good morning. And you're exactly right. The Constitution is very clear that states oversee elections, not the president, not Donald Trump. And this is just the latest attempt of Donald Trump to push unconstitutional, unlawful actions on the state to try to take control of the nation's elections. And we do believe it will fail. So I look forward to states challenging this latest executive order in court. Donald Trump has no authority to restrict mail ballots. He has no authority to tell the Postal Service which ballots to send, which ballots not to send. And I do believe this will be struck down.
Hey, Madam Secretary, it's Sam Stein here. I agree that this is sort of on its face unconstitutional. And yet I also, and I imagine you too as well, can imagine a scenario in which they try to act on this. The administration does try to act on this and says to the courts, stop us. And so in that case, two things jump out. One is, would they, or are you anticipating that they might try to withhold federal money from Colorado? They're threatened on various occasions already up to this point. And two is on the Postal Service. Is there a scenario in which they just act and decide not to send ballots to people who, you know, in some of their databases they've determined are not U.S. citizens, in which case, what do you do about that? I mean, how do you go about combating that?
Yeah, all of this is real possibility. And we have seen the Trump administration withhold funding specifically to the state of Colorado over election matters. So very specifically, Trump wants Tina Peters released. She is someone who compromised her voting equipment and is serving time in prison. And Trump has retaliated on the state in part by trying to withhold funds. And all of that is being litigated. I do think with this executive order, hopefully courts will act before the federal administration is able to delay. That's what we anticipate. But of course, this is just day two, the day after this executive order being issued. I think the bigger picture, though, is that Trump is using every tool to inject chaos and uncertainty into the elections. He has been failing. I believe he will fail. But I do think that this is all in anticipation that if MAGA and he lose the midterms, he is then able to point to the conspiracies as a reason why, to further undermine the results and further destabilize our country.
Madam Secretary, so how do you combat that? How do you combat this effort to create chaos? How do you calm the waters and make sure that your state's election goes as planned?
We have to fight back, and we are seeing election officials across the country hold the line. And it's not just on this latest executive order. The first executive order on elections that Trump issued about a year ago has been largely struck down, largely enjoined. And then we are pushing back. I just led a letter of multiple secretaries of state demanding that ICE confirm, that DHS confirm that ICE not be at the polls. When Trump and his DOJ asked for sensitive voter data, I told them to take a hike. So unfortunately, this is a game of whack-a-mole, but we are hitting the mark. We are holding the line. This is a president who is desperate, growing more desperate with time. He is so unpopular and is trying to destabilize the elections. Again, he will not succeed. Americans will have their voice heard. He may not want to hear what the American voters have to say in 2026, but the American voters will be able to express their sentiments with their vote.
Colorado Secretary of State Jena Griswold. Madam Secretary, thank you for joining us this morning. And we